Hello, I am Jennifer Lynn Purcell, aka Opportunity Butterfly, bringing to you Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge, where we will discuss the challenges and triumphs of those with NLD. I don't know if you're a new listener or not, but I would like to share with you where I get most of my articles for this podcast. I've recently learned about a nonprofit that I would really like to help. It's the Nvld Project. In addition to doing research on NVLD and working to get it back on the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, that is the DSM, they provide support groups for those with NVLD. You can find the Nvld Project at www.nvld.org. All proceeds from this podcast and the ads will go towards the Nvld Project. I will include the link for this in the description of the podcast. Please go to livingwithnld.com to learn more about my podcast. Also, I would like to announce that I now have created a YouTube channel for this podcast. I will post the link for this in the description for you. I would like to announce that the 8th podcast Zoom chat with NVLD people from the audience will be on July 17th, and I'm switching it to Facebook instead of Zoom because with Facebook Messenger you can do rooms and you can do video chats on there, and you don't have to be concerned about the time limit, which is easier than Zoom because once you set a time limit, you are kind of limited and sometimes they kick you out of the room. So I am switching into Facebook so that doesn't happen. That way it's easier with the time limit on that. And so again, the 8th one will be on July 17th and it will be at 10 a.m. Pacific time zone. And if you would like to attend it, please go to Living with NLD Facebook page and respond to the event on there for July 17th. And let me know that you are coming. That way I can send you the invite on that day. And I hope to continue to see new people come to that little group chat because I do enjoy creating a safe space for people with NLD to talk about things that they would like to discuss. And I am really enjoying learning more about NLD and being able to support people with it. And I've been enjoying doing that for 8 months now with this little group. So thank you. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hello, today I hope you enjoy the second part to Brian's interview and learning more about his life with NLD and ADHD. Thank you.
Well, the whole situation with January 6th, that's just wrong. There's no black and white about it. He said that was just wrong. You don't freaking storm Capitol Hill and start a riot. You just don't. That's just insurrection. And that's just wrong. No matter if you're Republican or Democrat. Same situation with the...
Yeah, I agree with you. What happened at the Capitol was wrong. And like you said, it doesn't usually matter what what political party you're in. And, people got hurt in that situation. And I want to be careful with what I say here because I'm not sure. I don't know the political situation of my audience, but it is that was an unfortunate event, and I feel like it was unnecessary, and it definitely was very, I feel sad whenever I hear news about it because, we're still discovering things about what happened that day. And it just makes me sad because, you know, it makes me learn more about my country. I was going to ask you if you feel like you have any good things from having NLD, or like any gifts.
Well, it makes me more resilient, makes me work harder, and it makes me more willing to try and not give up as easily as somebody who doesn't have any review and doesn't. It causes me to have more grit and more resilience in my life when it comes to struggles and just trying to fight at it and try to stick it at it, even though it's tough, and just trying to toughen it out. That's one gift that Nvld has, because I know what it's like to struggle. I know what it's like to be taken advantage of, and it causes me to even work harder and to not give up. Because I know that I don't want to be going back to when I was a kid being taken advantage of, or even just not be supported. So it makes me work harder and makes me realize that I have to work harder for a better life and have to earn it every day.
Yeah, I would be able to relate to what you were saying too, where it definitely makes me stronger too, because I've had to um, work at many challenges in my life with related to NLD, especially like I was saying with the social cues and with the math. I still work at that challenge because it's still not an easy thing for me to do, and I've had I've because I have NLD, I've become a stronger person emotionally and physically, and I been able to um, get better at many uh, various things, and I've been able to realize that I can get better at tackling different problems because um, well, because simply because I kind of have to, because of having NLD, um, which I guess is a good thing. Um, because if I wasn't good at, uh, trying to attack the problems, or, try to um, not overcome them, but try to make them easier for me, then it would make my life even harder to have NLD. Um, so I can relate to what you were saying. Um, do you ever wish you didn't have NLD or ADHD?
I wish I didn't have NLD for sure, because it just causes a lot of more failure and more effort into trying to get on people. And I would normally happy, to be honest with you. But it is what it is, and I try to live with it. But I wish I did not have it. How about you?
It was a little hard to hear your answer. I don't know where you had your microphone there.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Okay, my answer is I wish I did not have NVLD. Honestly, I did not like and ADHD. But if I had to prefer, you know, one or the other, I'd rather have my ADHD and not my NVLD, because my NVLD, I can't do anything about it. There's no medication. There isn't really anything you can do about it. You just have to live life in your unique way of dealing with the perspective of the world and just try to adapt. But with the ADHD, like if I just take my meds, that's fine. It just solves the problem.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that answer, Brian, because I would say, like you were saying, with ADHD, there is so I guess you could say a solution, or I don't know if cure is the right word, but you can do something about it. You can take a pill. Whereas with NLD, you can't take anything for it like you can with ADHD. You just have to. try to work at it as best as you can while you have it.
And the thing that's really frustrating about NVLD is it's different for everybody. So
Right. That's very true. Very
like
true.
I could eventually do visual processing job, but it's just really slow and I can get it done. For some people, they cannot ever do a visual processing job. Like I had to work at a restaurant when I was younger. It sucked. I hated it. Because it's so visually draining.
Yeah.
It's just visually draining because you're constantly having to like multitask and then work at a very fast speed to try and catch up with orders of food. For example, like when I used to work at Dairy Queen, I was a kid from 16 to like 17 years old. I had to literally, remember all the food and remember like how to make a burger or fries, and had to coordinate of how to do the order first. Like I had to organize. Okay, so I got to do the fries first because fries cook the fastest, then the burger, and just have to repeat that step over and over again. It was just draining for me. I hated it, but I eventually got it done. And I know there's some NLDers that cannot even hold down a fast food job for the life of them because it's so visually draining and visually demanding. And I get it.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that as well, where I would say that, like you were saying, NLD is different for everybody who has it because they don't, the degree to which they experience the symptoms is different. And I would say for me, with the, like you were saying, with cooking, I think for me, probably because I've been doing that for a while in my life, and I had my mom was my teacher with that too. Um, I think that's a little bit easier for me, which I which is a good thing. That's a good skill to have, to be independent. Um, but sometimes it is tricky where, like, if I'm trying to, yesterday I was trying to chop a shallot, and usually when you're trying to chop shallots or red onions, it gets to your eyes, and I forget whatever is in them that makes your eyes tear, but that definitely affects me because my eyes are, I have allergies with my eyes, so that affects me more than some people. Um, so I can definitely relate to um, the cooking a little bit, where sometimes I do have challenges where it can take me longer to do something because of, I guess, because of, maybe not doing it for a while and trying to remember how to do it. Um, and I would say that, sometimes I do wish I didn't have NLD because um, it is harder to have it, because, like you were saying, there is no way to not have it in your life, um, and it is challenging to have. And uh, the next question is, do you feel like it is a burden?
Oh yeah, I do it all the time because I know it's not hard to compare yourself to your friends and people tell you not to do it all the time, but I do, man. I feel like, if I didn't have NOVD, sometimes I feel like I should be married, have kids, have a career, not be unemployed and still be single. Because it is frustrating because I want to eventually get married and have kids because I'm not getting any younger, like I'm getting older. And as the more you get older, the more harder it is to try and get ahead in life because you have to work so much harder to study for school
Mm-hmm.
while having enough money to pay for it and look after yourself. On top of that, trying to maintain that career while working with people all day long and then trying to have a life at the end of the day. It's hard. And it is a burden because sometimes I'm sick and tired of always trying to fight with people, trying to get along with people, trying to balance out my differences for people and just trying to work things out. It's a challenge.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's a burden for you?
Yeah, I do, because like you were saying, it is a challenge, and I struggle myself too with wanting to be able to have a career. You know, I like the job that I have, but I want to be able to have a I want to be able to have a career where I feel like I'm not always making mistakes, and having NLD be a challenge with my job, and that still comes up. And also, you know, being able to eventually have a significant other, and you know, for me that's challenging too. And you know, for me, I have, because I'm 24, I have more time with that. But um, because, you know, I did have one relationship, I know, I feel like I got a taste of that, and I, you know, now that I haven't been doing it for a while because of COVID, I miss it. So, um, you know, I can relate to you where, you know, you were saying where you know, as you get older it gets more challenging to do the things that you want to be able to do. And that is true. And I think um uh, you know, as you get older you might also be able to, at least I think for me, I've learned more things as I've gotten older, and that has made some parts of life easier. Maybe not all parts, but at least some parts where I've been able to learn from some of the mistakes I've made.
Yeah, I think that's one of the best things I have get when I'm older is I live on my own. So just to let you know, is I have the choice to choose who I interact with, who I don't. So I don't like my parents. They aggravate me. My sister, I have a toxic relationship with her, so I cut her off.
Mm.
Versus when I was younger, I had to deal with them all the time. You know, if I don't like my job, I have the option of quitting
Mm-hmm.
and move something else. You know, I also have an option of, you know, more say in what I do in my life instead of, you know, having parents dictate over you what you have to do. And that's my biggest blessing about being an adult is I'm independent of my own life, you know. I don't have anybody telling me what the hell I have to do. And that was my biggest pet peeve growing up was constantly being ridiculed and told what to do and dealing with people who were abusive and that had power over me. That's just my personal life experience. I don't know about you, but that's just mine. So just take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I would say I can relate to that a little bit, because I, you know, like I said earlier, I was taken advantage of, and uh, I was, um, because I have that history, I can relate to um, being, I can relate to not feeling like you don't have the choice or power in your life to be able to control some part of your life. And when I decided to take control of my life and be able to do to you know, have the power, that then it felt much better. And it was it was very freeing. And I I think I was fortunate that um, it that you know, the person that took advantage of me was in my extended family, and I was able to cut them out of my life. So you know, I can relate to what you were saying about um, cutting people out of your life. because you're, like you said, you do have the choice to do that if you need to.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to school and have to deal with a freaking work bully day in, day out, or, you know, that's one thing I hate about childhood too, as well. You know, like I could just, if I deal with work bully at work, I could either, you know, talk to the management, or sometimes it becomes too toxic work environment, I just leave. You know,
Right.
life's too short to just worry about and fight all the time. You know, that's just my opinion. Because I had a lot of jobs over the years, being a little bit older than you, so I kind of have my fair share of work drama and work issue, and I feel like it's just sometimes all like school all over again. It's just more complex.
Oh, yeah, I can relate to that too. Before I was working for my parents, I had some full-time jobs, or almost full-time jobs, where I didn't like them because I was trying to create my own schedule, and I uh, also didn't like it because they didn't know about my NLD, and sometimes that became an issue, and I quit them, or because it was, I guess you could say it was a toxic environment, and um, I I don't think I realized what all the issues were until I started working for my parents, and it definitely you know it became easy. Some of the things became easier when I started working for my parents, so um, I can relate to what you were saying about that. Um, what I was curious was if you, um, this kind of goes into other people who have NLD, but if you kind of have any motivation in your life that you use for when you might get discouraged.
Well, I just look at how far I gotten, especially financially. You know, like I worked really hard to be able to be financially independent. You know, like we talked about on Facebook. Like I was able to, if I feel down, I just look at, you know, okay, at least I got my financial part of my life fixed. You know, like I have a lot of money saved up where I don't have to work. I don't want to. That's part of and I have flexibility now. If I don't like this job right now, man, I could just quit and not work for a year and be stable enough to pay my own bills.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have my credit card paid off. I have, like, you know, investments that are making me money a month that's enough that I could improve on, you know, and I'm proud of myself because it's not easy investing, being financially disciplined, because you know, as a society, no one's really taught financial literacy, and I'm glad I was able to taught myself that and get myself out of, like, you know, financial issues and burdens that normally would affect 90% of the population. Because, you know, like right now, because of me working so hard last year, I could not have to work all this year. Because one thing I learned from this whole COVID situation is you gotta be financially savvy and have money saved up for emergency situations and get ready for that, because you don't know what's gonna happen. So that's one thing I'm really proud of, is my financial literacy and my strength in finance. Even though I was horrible in math, I realized that, you know, if I had a reason behind the math and the logic behind it, then it makes it worthwhile for me to invest in it. For example, you know, like I'm always financially savvy whenever I go out and buy anything, because I always price compare. So if I go to their store that's selling the same product that, you know, for $1, and then I have to walk like a couple blocks down the street to the next store that's selling for 50 cents, you know,
Mm-hmm.
what am I going to do? I'm always going to take the price that's cheapest, right? Because I got to always try to, this is just from my life experience, is that I got to always conserve money as best as I can, because it's not easy. It doesn't grow on trees, and it takes a lot of effort to earn that money.
Yeah, I definitely can relate to what you were saying too about being able to save money where, um, since I've been debt free, which recently happened for me last year with paying off my credit card debt, that I've been able to save more money because I was able to do that. And I've been very proud of myself too for doing that, because I've been able to, save more towards my goals of so that I can, work towards living on my own, and be able to set aside money for those goals, which I really want to be able to work towards. And I can relate to you with saying, with your example about, trying to buy something that might cost less at one store than it does at the other store, because whenever I try to buy something, like whenever I try to buy a prescription for my chronic migraines that I have, I always ask about the price, because I pay for those myself, and I try to make sure that I can. I know I can pay for them because I don't pay for many things, because my parents are willing to pay for most of my are willing to pay for basically most of the necessities, which I'm fortunate that they are willing to do that. But for the things I do pay for, I want to be mindful of what the price is, because I want to be able to teach myself about personal finance. And like you were saying, because usually nobody teaches you about that, you kind of have to teach yourself about it. And I guess for myself, I kind of helped myself with that in college, because I took a class about personal finance when I was in college, and I did that because my brother recommended that I did it, because he and I went to the same college, so he was able to recommend the class to me. So that was fortunate for me, which was it. I think a personal finance class should be a requirement in high school, because not everybody goes to college. And that would be helpful for people to have.
I agree with you there, because majority of, like, I just realized that after being financially responsible and getting myself out of debt, I just feel like majority of all financial issues with people is, one thing is ignorance, and two, willingness to be disciplined, because finance is all about being disciplined at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
You got discipline about how much you're willing to spend, you got to be disciplined about how much you want to invest, and also how much you're willing to save to put
Yeah,
away in a rainy day
right.
or a rainy year.
Yeah, I agree with you with that, because you know the most of the debt I had was because of impulsive spending, and I had to take control of that once I got rid of the debt, because I didn't want to do that anymore, because I wanted to be able to save more money. And I've been proud of myself that I don't do that anymore, and that when I do spend money, I'm paying my mom back for my mom or dad back for the things that they get for me. And then if I do buy myself something, it's something that I actually need. And I'm I'm glad that I've been able to do that, and that I've been able to correct that behavior, um, because speaking from personal experience, that was not an easy thing to do. But like you were saying, it is definitely discipline that you have to do with that. Um, and I was curious also what you might tell people who, like you were saying earlier in the interview, you knew something was off, but for people who are out there that don't know that they have NLD, but they think they might, what you might tell them to do.
Well, the obvious is clear if you have NVLD or not, or maybe even if you have Asperger's syndrome, because those two could be very correlated. It's just your relationship with people. Are you being, people talking to you more? Are you being, you know, like one of the clues is everybody was able to effortlessly get along in school, and I was the only odd man out. That was the biggest clue why I struggle with it. And also not just getting along with my families growing up too, right? Because I was always the odd person out. So it's just always that clue of always being the odd person out, and just always being socially awkward.
Yeah, I would agree with you with that. The social awkward is definitely usually the clue. And I would say that if you haven't been tested for a learning disability, or as I like to call it, a learning challenge, then definitely if you have the money or means for it to do that, because then that will help you confirm that you have NLD or Asperger's or something else, because then you're able to help yourself out there and start learning about what you have and hopefully make your life a little bit easier by learning about it. And also, I think you kind of already got at this question with the personal finance about your proudest accomplishment, but if I'm wrong about that, is that your proudest accomplishment, or is there something
Yeah,
else?
that is my proudest accomplishments.
That's what I thought when you were talking about it, because you were saying you were proud about that. And I would say that is definitely one of mine too, because I've been working hard on that recently as well. For me, the other one is graduating from college, because I was the first woman in my family to go to college and graduate from college. And to do that with NLD, that makes it even harder.
It is. Did you go to university, or did you go to like post-secondary, like community college?
So I did go to university. I went to UC Berkeley.
Okay.
Yeah, not an easy school to go to.
And what did you graduate with?
I graduated with a BA in sociology.
Okay.
And I also had a minor in environmental science.
Okay. So I'm not sure not trying to criticize you. I'm just trying to be realistic. So please don't take this the wrong way. But may I ask, like, what's your career outlook like with a sociology degree, or do you need to like literally upgrade it to like a graduate school, like for example, get into law or something else to make that degree work for you when it comes to, going to school, investing 4 years of your college and tuition to get that BA?
No, that's a good question, because there are different choices I have. I could go back and get a master's if I wanted to do something like a social worker. Sometimes it depends on the company that you work for that. You don't always need a master's degree. Or I also have the choice to do a different, or to basically stick with the degree that I have and try to um, you know take a job that accepts that, so that I wouldn't have to get more education. And I think that's what I'm going to try to do, because actually what I have this idea for the podcast where I want to make it into a business, by offering resources for people who have NLD, where I basically would try to connect them with people who, like with somebody who might be a therapist or a job coach, or like a personal finance coach, because they might be able to help them with that aspect of their life. And then I would try to help them with that, and also try to help, maybe, help their family out by helping them because they have NLD. So eventually I want to start that business, but in the meantime, because of COVID, I'm fine with having the job that I have, and it makes sense because it's safe. As I wrap up, there are some things I would like to share with you. I do have a website for this podcast. It is called livingwithnld.com. I also have a Facebook and Instagram page for this podcast. It is called Living with NLD. I will include the links for those in the description. In conclusion, I would like to hear from my audience. If you know individuals with NLD that I could interview for this podcast, please email me at livingwithnld@gmail.com. What are you interested in learning about NLD? I know I'm not an expert, but I do know I have the living experience of having it. I would like you to practice journaling about your gifts and differences. Also, see if there is a way that you can make that difference become easier for you to do than it originally was. Thank you for listening today, and please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to it. Thank you. Bye.